Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. I have missed you. It's so good to be back. My name is Tess. If you don't know me yet, I am a licensed esthetician and I own an all virtual aesthetics practice where I help people correct their skin concerns and conditions all virtually, all online, and all without hands-on in-person treatments. There will always be a place for hands-on treatments. I love getting treatments myself. I think they can be necessary for a lot of people and they're very much still important. But it is also very possible to achieve great results working from home. It's possible to be profitable and it's a very smart way to bolster your business as an esthetician. So I'm not saying anybody has to go out and be a totally all virtual esthetician, but I do think it's smart to think about it and consider adding it to your business as a way to strengthen it and make it less vulnerable should something happen. I think COVID has shown us exactly that we have to, as business people, expect the unexpected and also have awareness that as estheticians, we're vulnerable ourselves because we depend on our working bodies for our livelihood and in order to pay our bills and to pay rent. Nobody told me when I was getting into beauty school that being an esthetician is a very physical job. It's a wonderful job, but if you're working in the treatment room, it does require a healthy working body. So I found out about 2 years into my journey as an esthetician working in the treatment room that even completing 2 to 3 full days in the treatment room performing facials was really hard on my body personally. I know for some people it may not be a big deal, and I envy those people who have 100% perfect health and so much energy. In that case, I think it can be a great option for you to do in-person treatments. But if you struggle with injuries, if you're getting older and you're noticing your body isn't performing the same way, if you have health issues like myself, it can be very difficult to depend on in-person treatments. And I think all of us as esties know the horrible feeling when we are sick, we get injured, something happens, and we can't get into the treatment room and we have to totally cancel on our clients, and then we don't have an income for that day and we might still have overhead. We might be paying for supplies, rent, renting machines, all of these things that can be expensive while not incurring an income if we're not physically in the treatment room that day. If you are used to watching my videos and you've noticed I haven't uploaded in about a month, it's because I kind of had a crazy start to 2022. I actually had a little accident where I had mopped my floors and I was walking into the bathroom wearing my brand new Uggs I got for Christmas. I was so excited to wear, and completely slipped and hit my head on my bathroom tile. I ended up getting a concussion, I sprained my neck, and I sprained my ankle. And when that happened, it was horrible, it was awful. I definitely needed to take a couple days off to heal and kind of get my bearings, but at the same time, I gave myself a little pat on the back and was just so grateful that I have the business that I do have now, and it doesn't depend on having perfect health and having a totally perfect healthy body. I was so grateful I could call my clients, and I ended up doing phone calls instead of Zoom because the screen was bothering my concussion, and it wasn't perfect, but I was able to make it through. I didn't have to cancel anybody, and it was just a much better situation for me. And knowing myself, this is the best option for me now. And I still get questions like, when are you going to go back into the treatment room? Like, so cool what you're doing, but like, when are you going to go back? And I have to be just confident and strong in myself and what I have built and let people know this is my full-time job now. I've got full books and like this is not a little side hustle for me anymore. It's my entire business, and it doesn't have to be a full-on business for you, but I do think it's a very smart option to have. And I think about Had I had this business in place when COVID hit, I would have been in a great position. I would have been in a sweet spot. I did start my business right when COVID hit, sort of out of demand, and it's grown into what it is today. But had I had that in place when people weren't able to get into the spa, it would have been fantastic, and I would have made even more money because people weren't able to go in for in-person treatments. So I just think it's a very smart option to have for your business. And if you're feeling fatigued, tired, burnt out in the treatment room, that is totally okay. I think estheticians need to be a little bit more forthcoming with the fact that we can burn out, we can get fatigued, we can get injured, and it's a tough spot to be in if you haven't built your business to support other streams of income. So that's my whole spiel. I want to get into a couple of tips to help you set up a successful virtual business. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And I'm really excited to make more content around virtual aesthetics in 2022. There was no roadmap when I started this. It really just was born out of a couple people DMing me and asking me for help. And it's grown into a full-on business. So I hope this is helpful for somebody else, and maybe seeing somebody else doing it is inspiring or helpful, or just assures you that it is totally a feasible business plan. So without rambling too much more, I want to get into some helpful tips for starting your virtual business, and I hope this helps. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'm so excited for 2022, and I definitely want to dedicate some videos to virtual aesthetics education, and just let me know how I can support you. What are your questions? What do you struggle with when it comes to the idea of virtual aesthetics? Let me know. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video if you like it, leave me a little comment down below. Don't forget to follow my other socials. I am at myesthetessa on Instagram, and if I can't post to YouTube for a while, I'm usually posting daily on Instagram. Okay, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the tips. Tip number 1 is stop overthinking it, stop overcomplicating it. I know it sounds crazy that you would be helping people virtually without being able to see their skin under the magnifying lamp and being able to touch their skin up close, but believe me, you can very much still treat the skin. I think because it's something new, people tend to get overwhelmed at the idea of virtual aesthetics. They might doubt it and think they can't get the results that they are used to, so they're intimidated by it and they just don't end up pursuing it. Okay, I'm gonna provide a lot of concrete, helpful tips to allow you to put in place what you need to put in place to have a virtual business. But let me tell you, if you didn't listen to any of these tips, you could still 100% do it. I started my business off of 1 or 2 direct messages of people saying they can't get into the spa. What products would I recommend? From there, I set an appointment time with them to call them. We talked on the phone, and then I made a plan for them. It is as simple as that. Think of it this way. If your best friend were to text you, hey, I want to pay you for your time, and I'm willing to invest in the right treatment products for my skin to get me the results I'm after, what should I do? Think of it that way, and just think of it as 1, conversation, and 2, you providing solutions to treat their concerns. Before I had a website set up with billing, before I had a calendar where people could book with me, before I had all of the systems that I had in place now, I was still making a small income and kickstarting my business by simply setting a time to talk to people, having the conversation, and then following up with my solutions. It is as simple as that, and everything else is just extra to allow the business to thrive and be as seamless as possible, but don't overcomplicate it. Tip number 2, you want an intake form and you want a good one. And what is a good intake form? To me, it's a form that is customized to reflect your unique business, because every business has slightly different questions they would ask. Every business has a slightly different approach. So you can totally Google intake forms for estheticians online. You will see a million examples. They're also on Pinterest. You can even buy them. I know Glow Skincare LA and Casey Boone has one that you can purchase, but I do think everybody should tweak their intake form a little bit just to make it unique and make it helpful to you in the long run. I'm sure there's questions that you would like to ask your client, and it doesn't hurt to have certain questions on the form that you also go over in person, because sometimes, especially when it comes to lifestyle choices, it's just important to have that in-person conversation. Of course, your intake form should include some non-negotiable things like what allergies do you have? Are you on any medications? What products do you use with specific brand names? And then, of course, at the bottom, you want to have that little consent piece. That's just a hint, hint, please don't sue me. But the consent form is very important, and getting that signature is important because it's just an acknowledgement if something were to go wrong, or if I didn't follow instructions as the client, the esthetician is not liable. I take consent pretty seriously, and it's one of the reasons I never really advise over Instagram message. I do get a lot of people sending me pictures of their skin and asking for advice, and I am pretty firm in telling everybody the same thing, so it's just fair across the board. I say, please make an appointment with me online so I can attain your consent, and that way I can make the safest recommendations for you that will help you achieve the optimal results. But a consent form is so important. Think about how important it is before you go into the treatment room with a client to get an overview of their history. It's almost like a little roadmap to what their skin is like, their main concerns, their skin type, all that important information. So it's so important in the treatment room, and it's like gold if you are working virtually, because you don't have the luxury of looking at somebody's skin close up and being hands-on. So that form is very important, and I like to attain it before I go into the consultation, so I have an idea of what this person has been using and what the major concerns are. It just gives me an idea of what specific questions I will be asking them in the consultation related to things they've mentioned on the form. Tip number 3 is attain good quality photos. So one of the biggest questions I get asked is, how on earth do you know what to recommend based on seeing somebody on FaceTime or Zoom? And you're totally right. I would not feel like I know enough seeing their skin via video, because the quality is just not that great. I wouldn't feel like I know enough to treat their concerns. What I depend on is very good quality photos, and the key to getting good quality photos is very specific and firm instruction. So I send my clients an email ahead of the appointment. I send them their intake form, and I let them know I need their photos. So what I ask for is 3 main photos. I want a front-facing photo, and I want one of each side of the face. I also say, please include additional photos if there are specific concerns. So if somebody has closed comedones on their forehead, they have inflamed acne along their jawline, I like to see those concerns up close in a separate photo. I also ask my clients to please take the photos in good quality lighting. So natural lighting is typically best. And I ask for them to try to get a plain or white background so the photos look more professional should I want to use them for before and afters. That's another thing I forgot to mention, but it's very helpful to ask on your intake form or ask in the email if the client will give you consent to use the photos for your marketing purposes, whether it's on Instagram or on your website. And then I actually always ask again once I do get the after photo. Before I'm about to post anything, I always just check with the client to be safe. Most people have no problem with it, but there definitely are people who just say, I'm so sorry, I'm not comfortable putting the photos online, and that's totally okay too. So you want the 3 main photos, front, sides, and then any additional photos of concerns. You would like a plain white background with good natural lighting. And then here is a bonus tip. The best quality photos you can attain will be taken with the back camera on an iPhone. I will try to insert a little example, but basically the back camera is the normal camera that your phone uses should you just pick it up and point and shoot at an object. When you are taking a selfie, that is the front facing camera, and it's typically not as good as the back camera. So if your client can have a friend or a family member take a photo of their skin using the normal camera or the back camera, that is the best case scenario. Sometimes people can't figure it out, and that's okay, but I will definitely try to get those optimal quality photos. The last piece of taking photos that's been very integral to my business, and I'm happy to share with you guys, is setting up a shared photo album. So typically I'll set this up once I receive the client's photos. So if your client has an iPhone, and it might be possible on Android, but typically I set up the shared album that's just a photo album between me and the client. So we have their photos day 1, and then moving forward, they can add to it on a schedule or as they see change, and that just keeps us in the loop together. They can also leave little comments, so that's kind of cool, and it just tracks the dates and everything, so it's just like a photo record of your progress together. The next piece that I think is so crucial to having a successful consultation business is taking really good notes. I often get asked, what apps do I use to take notes? And I actually use Aesthetic Record, but a lot of SDs, I'd say the majority of SDs I know use Vagaro, and there are probably other softwares and apps out there, so you're welcome to explore, but those are some of the more popular ones. Now, I've talked about the importance of taking good notes before, but I will just be that little voice in your ear saying it's really important to take good notes because, of course, right after a meeting, you think you're going to retain that information forever, but we just don't, and we see a lot of people, so it's so good to have that backup of information. And what I love about notes is the next time I'm going into a follow-up appointment, I can look back at my notes. I can see what was the date we first met, what were their main concerns at that time, what are the products that I put them on, and you know, that way I go into the meeting knowing where we started, and I can check in with the client and ask, is this still a concern? How are these products that I recommended going? Oh, it's been 3 months. Like, what kind of results are you seeing? So in that way, I think it also helps people to feel that element of personalization we all want in our business. I think something that is bothersome to me, I know when I go to certain providers or doctors, when they literally don't remember a single thing about me and they don't even remember why I came in the first place. It's just like, I wish you took the time to maybe take some notes and review them. So I think notes are arguably just super important, and the more specific you can be, the more it will help you out later down the line. The last tip I have for you is the importance of follow-up. Let me tell you about a little mistake I made when I was first starting my business, and we all make them, we all learn things along the way, and for me it was follow-up. I never mentioned when my clients should follow up with me at the end of an appointment because I didn't want to feel like pushy or salesy, and I'm so not that person. So I never went there, and I was doing my clients a disservice. If you do not mention when your client should follow up with you, it leaves a lot of questions in their mind. They don't know if they should reach out. They don't know if they should come back to check in. They don't know if you want to see them again for a check-in. So just know people can always ignore the suggestion for a follow-up, but if you don't mention it, they don't know if it's offered and they don't know if it's encouraged. You really have to lead with confidence as a business owner or just as the person in charge, and people do want to be led. They want specific instruction, and most people will tell me they really like that. If I can be very specific in any of my instructions and just in detailing what my process is, it makes people feel safe, and people want to feel safe. So in terms of follow-up, I think everybody can be a little bit different, and the exact number of days that go by before somebody checks in, but I'll tell you what I do. So I let my clients know. They can let me know once they receive their products if they want to, which usually they're excited and they want to let me know like when things come in for them. But I also tell them at the time of the appointment and in a follow-up email after the appointment, I let them know I want them to reach out a week after use of their products. I personally like this type of follow-up because it does put some responsibility in the client's hands. And I used to think that was a bad thing, but it's just what works for me now. And in the beginning, once I started to realize follow-up was a good thing and I should be doing it, I would try to keep notes on who I hadn't followed up with and I would reach out, but I noticed that system just didn't work as well for me. I like the idea of keeping people accountable and letting them know I want you to reach out, and this is your little homework assignment. You're going to use the products as instructed, and then you are going to reach out to me and let me know how you're doing. Let me know any concerns. I also let them know if something comes up before a week. Definitely reach out to me. I want to know, and I will help you if something does come up. But I let a week go by so somebody can get familiar with the products and get used to them. I did do a podcast, by the way, which I should definitely mention. I did do a podcast, by the way, that you guys should definitely check out. I have a podcast called The Treatment Room, and I interviewed Jan Marini, and she gave me all the best possible tips for having your perfect consultation. So if this wasn't enough, go check that podcast out. But Jan told me that the average amount of time that it takes a person to decide if they like a product or not is 4 days. So you could check in after 4 days. For me, since I tend to recommend a couple products at a time, for me, somebody hasn't acclimated to more than one thing after 4 days. So for me, I say a week. Please reach out to me after a week and let me know how things are going. I also instruct them I want to see a photo update a month after our visit. So I might suggest they put in a little calendar reminder and send me the photo update a month in. I'm also very clear at the time of the appointment. I want to see the client again for a follow-up appointment at the 2-month mark. So that's my little system for follow-up, and it's what works for me. You may find yours is a little bit different, but the most important thing is just making sure you're talking about follow-ups with your clients and you're giving concrete instructions so there's no confusion about how your clients can reach you and when. And that is the other thing that I learned with time. When I first started out, I told my clients, here's my cell phone. Didn't give any boundaries around when they should contact me or reach me. And it did get overwhelming because I would be getting all the texts over the weekend when everybody is looking at their skin and has more time, and it did get overwhelming. So I now let people know the follow-up process, and I say, if you need to reach me, please reach me between the hours of 9 to 5 Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. And that will be very helpful in making sure you maintain your sanity and you don't feel overwhelmed so you can sustain the business. Those are all the tips I have for today, but please let me know your questions in the comments below. I'm so excited to make more content around virtual aesthetics because I think it's such a smart business tool, and I know there's not a ton of information out there. So please let me know your questions. The more specific, the better, and I look forward to reading those. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and I will talk to you in the next video.